Hey there and welcome. Today we're going to do something really cool. We're going to break down the DNA of any argument. And by the time we're done here, you'll be able to see the hidden structure behind any persuasive point anyone ever tries to make on you.
You know that feeling, right? I mean, you're just going around and around in circles, nobody's listening, and you can't for the life of you figure out why you're not getting anywhere. Well, a lot of the time, it's because people are arguing about completely different things without even realizing it. But guess what? There's a super simple framework that can fix that.
All right, here it is. Every single argument, and I mean every argument you'll ever come across, is built on just three types of claims: claims of fact, claims of value, and claims of policy. Seriously, think of them as the Legos of persuasion. If you understand these three, you've got the key to unlocking pretty much any debate.
Okay, so let's dive in. First up, we've got the foundation of any solid argument, and that's the claim of fact. It all starts with this fundamental question: what is or is not actually true? Now, a claim of fact, it isn't just, stating something obvious like, hey, the sky is blue. It has to be debatable. Just think about a courtroom, right? The claim John Doe was guilty of murder isn't a fact until it's been proven with evidence. It's a statement that needs backing up before we can accept it. Okay, and this is a really important point, so listen up. We tend to think of facts as these permanent, unchangeable things, but they're not the same as some ultimate capital T truth. Facts are just our best understanding at any given moment, and as we're about to see, they can definitely change. You want to see this in action? Just look at Pluto. For decades, it was just a fact. We had 9 planets. We learned it in school, right? But then, as our technology and our understanding got better, we came up with a new, more precise definition for what a planet is. And just like that, the fact about Pluto changed. So here's the bottom line. The real litmus test is this. When you hear someone make a statement, just ask yourself this one simple question. Could I, at least in theory, find some evidence to prove this true or prove it false? If the answer is yes, then congratulations. You're dealing with a claim of fact. Okay, so we've got our facts straight. What's next? How does this all build on each other? Well, once we have the facts, we get to start making judgments about them. And this is where we get into the messy but oh so fascinating world of values.
So claims of value are all about judging something, right? Appraising it. Is this a good thing? Is that the right thing to do? Is Harrison Ford the greatest actor of all time? And this is where arguments can get really tricky because words like good or best or greatest, they're totally subjective. They mean different things to different people. So how on earth do you argue about something that's totally subjective? Well, you actually make it objective. Here's how. First, you have to agree on the standards, the criteria. What makes a movie the best? Does it need to win awards, make $1 billion, have a lasting cultural impact? Once you've defined those rules, you can then see if your movie, even if it's, Sharknado, actually meets the criteria we just set. There's a quote that I think just hits the nail on the head here. It says that value may be in the eye of the beholder, but a good argument defines what the eye should be looking for. And that's it, right there. You don't win by yelling your opinion louder. You win by getting everyone to agree on the scorecard first.
All right, so we've established the facts. We've made our judgments about them. What's left? Well, it's time to do something. And that brings us to the final and maybe most important type of claim, the claim of policy. A claim of policy is always about the future. It's always arguing for some kind of change from how things are right now, from the status quo. That's why you always hear those key words like should or ought to or must. You wouldn't argue that people should keep breathing air. That's already happening. You argue for something new. Now, because you're asking people to change things, which can be a huge deal, a solid policy claim has to be built like a fortress. It has to be supported by what we call the 7 pillars. These are 7 tough questions that any good policy idea has to be able to answer. So let's run through this checklist real quick. First, you got to prove there actually is a problem. And second, that it's significant enough to even bother with. Then, what's causing it? Is it a structural problem with the system itself? Or is it just people's bad attitudes? Critically, number 4, can the current system already fix it? Because if it can, you don't need a new policy. Then you lay out your big idea. Is it a workable solution? And number 6, will it actually solve the problem you started with? And finally, the big one, will your solution create new problems that are even worse?
It's kind of like that long list of side effects they read really fast at the end of a drug commercial. You have to prove the cure isn't worse than the disease. Okay, time to put it all together. The grand finale. See, these three claims don't just exist on their own. They link together, one after the other, in this perfect logical chain to build a completely rock-solid argument. Let's use a really famous legal case to see how this works in the real world. Okay, so the base of our pyramid, the foundation, is the claim of fact. The prosecution had to prove with evidence that, as a matter of fact, a crime was committed and that O.J. Simpson was the one who did it. That's the verifiable layer. Now, building right on top of that foundation of fact, we add the next layer, the claim of value. This is where we judge the act itself. Okay, a crime was committed, but what kind of crime was it? Was it premeditated murder, or was it a crime of passion, which would make it manslaughter? This layer is all about the morality and the intent behind the facts. And then, at the very top of the pyramid, based on the facts and our value judgment, we finally get to the claim of policy. What should we do about it? What is the right and just punishment? Acquittal? Prison? This is the action, the final step that flows from everything that came before it. You see how that works? It's this beautiful, logical flow. Fact leads to value, and value leads to policy. Strong arguments are built just like this pyramid. And if you try to skip a step, if you try to argue policy without establishing facts, the whole thing just crumbles. So from now on, when you're listening to a debate or watching the news or even just talking with a friend, you'll be able to see the code behind the argument, like you're in the Matrix or something. You can spot what kind of claim is being made and where the weak points are. So the only question left is, what are you going to do with this new superpower?